Welcome to another episode of Your Body Talks with Jessy Morrison and Dianne Ojar. I just want to say thank you all for joining us and thank you. Did you bring a friend today? Because we would like you to make sure next time you join us to bring a friend because I am sure the stories we tell, the information you gather will be very interesting to you. So please do allow me to introduce my lovely co-host Jessy Morrison. However, on before I do that, I just want to make sure, as a disclaimer, to let you know that this is not about religion. We respect your beliefs and your faith. So on that note, Jessy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jessy, we've been talking a lot for the past little while. Stories about your kids, star seeds, UFOs in the sky. That was my story actually, and I'm sticking to that. There's so many things. The Akashic records. We touched on that, and we'll continue as we go along. And we want this show to be fun and lighthearted because a lot of these topics can be very, very, the way we talk about it and how we understand it is. I understand a lot of things through stories. I'm a story person, right? But I wanted to make sure that we have some fun while we're talking in these conversations and chats because some of these topics can really be overwhelming to some people, and some people just embrace it and eat it up and chew it up and just love it. So we want to make sure we present it for whatever is pleasing to you. Me, I like to have fun. I love stories. So here's a story we're going to talk about, and I'm sure Jesse's going to frame it into a story for us. The original blueprint. Jesse, what exactly
Okay.
does that mean?
What does it mean? Well, that's a good question. I don't know if I have facts about that or not because we are divine beings. We
Mhm.
are energy frequencies that vibrate. And I guess we could say, imagine that you are an energy source that's vibrating out there. Okay, from God, Creator, we are everything. And since we're everything, we have no way of experiencing ourselves because there's nothing that we are not. And I think that comes from Neil Donald Walsh's book, The Little Soul in the Sun.
Love it. Love it. I have it. I love it. I remember the first time I heard that book, I had to go hunt all over for it, and I finally got it.
Well, and in that book, he talks, it's a parable, and he talks
Mm-hmm.
about us as these divine souls, these energy frequencies out there, wanting to um, experience unique, individuated expressions of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the little soul stands out there and says, "I know that everything is like God, but I can't see myself while I'm out here in the sun. Can I go to Earth, please?" And God says, "Why would you want to do that?" He says, "Well, I'd like to experience this part of myself that is forgiveness." And God goes, "Oh, okay, but you are forgiving." "Yeah, but I'd like to, experience it." And that's how I look at our journey on Earth too, because there are so many different religious stories about how the souls came down. And the more I read and the more I learn about the Anunnaki and space travel and the pyramids and all these things, yeah, I don't know how much of it is real and how much isn't. I just know that when I am feeling in my true center and aligned with my own blueprint, my own values, my own truth, I guess is a way of putting it, what makes me feel good, that higher energy, then I know that I am closer to divine source and I feel very happy. Um, there is a story that I was taught when I was first learning soul profiling, and it was about the Lucifer rebellion. And so the way we talk about everything on earth has a polarity, a yin and a yang, a light and a shadow. It was an explanation, and again, it's probably a parable or a metaphor, that there was a way that God, I'm going to use that word, guidance on demand, universal source energy, had a vision for what Earth's spiritual landscape was supposed to look like. And yeah, now I'm starting to think about all the stories of Lilith and Adam and Eve and things like that. And there is so much we don't know that we're finding out because even the sound Adam, Iwa, which we use in all different languages except English. We make the V a V sound, instead, like a, yeah, it's a hard V instead of a W sound. If we look at the different religions, those are all chants. Adam means in the beginning I created. E pulls from the heart down into the belly region, the womb chakra. And I look, it's almost like, oh wow, look what I have created. So there is this energy that we can create, but somehow on earth we seem to create a lot of drama, a lot of strife, a lot of struggle. So we have stories about how we were kicked out of, the Garden of Eden and different things like this. But if you bring in the Anunnaki energy and what they're discovering about the Anunnaki, the space aliens who took over Egypt and the House of Ra and things like that, that comes into my Akashic records for different people as well. And it's fascinating. So apparently there was a polarity. There were some souls that decided that they would just watch Earth, and others who decided they would come here with apparently the angel Lucifer and help the earthlings. So was Lucifer a bad guy, or is that an angelic energy that he is here to help us move through the energy? I don't know. I just find it all very fascinating, and I just am trying to put all the pieces together of the thousands of people that I've worked on over the last 25 years. What I do know is that when I talk to different people's bodies and ask them what it is they want to tell us, what is it this person needs to know in order to not clean up their act, but to step and fulfill their mission that they came here to be, it always tells me that they're from different planets. And not necessarily in a structural way, but energetically, they picked up different personality traits or different ways of looking at things or different skills and different talents from these energies. And yet there are others that came from shadow planets like Draco and such that they're not necessarily doing anything against us, but it stops us from having our mission. Okay, it's kind of confusing when I try and speak it like that. Some people tell me they came from Atlantis. Some people tell me that they were here in Lemurian times. It's really fascinating, the memories that are in the body. And all I'm doing is asking questions.
But Jessy,
Yeah.
let me ask
What?
you that before we go further. Atlantis, it always
Mm-hmm.
comes up. It's a very famous place. We all know about it. Do you tend to find, okay, let me ask you this other question then. Which is the most common one you hear most about? Is there one
Oh, I
more
don't know. I haven't actually sat down
down?
to itemize all of this and see if I get more from this place than from
Mm-hmm.
that place. I seem to go in stages. It'll be for a while. I think in the early days, it was everybody who was coming in was Palladian. And
Mm-hmm.
there is so much information about Palladians on the internet and everything. It was like, that's cool. And apparently I myself have been on the Palladian, but I'm a Polarian. But I have lived and worked with Palladians in all of these different, you know, incarnations that I have been on this earth. So
I've
yeah,
heard.
do I have one that's more common? Recently, I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting a star seed pattern that I've never heard before, and it's prosantheon or something. And in the last 10 years, I've never heard of that group. So it's fascinating. I don't know what's more common, what isn't. Maybe it's what I don't get a lot of is actual earthers, people who have only incarnated on Earth. I've met one person like that, and she's a lovely lady, and she's into meditation and drumming and working with the elements and things like that. So you got to look at the clientele that I get too. Everybody I get is usually, I would say, a light worker, a coach, or a healer, or an empath, or someone who wants to be at peak performance. So these people are drawn to my work for some reason because it's an answer to them. So I don't get the people who um, how do I want to say this? I've always thought I work with people's pain, helping people transform pain into their passion, their truth, finding out their way through pain and dismantling it. Even though these people come to me for pain, that's really not what they're here for. They're here to excel in their mission, to give them more of the energy frequencies that are in alignment with the teachings to bring in the new age, although it's an old age now, but what we call the new age, or to enable more healing and positive changes on earth. These are the people that I get. So I don't know who is more common on the planet or who isn't. I just know who I get as
Well,
clientele.
that's research for you to go back and get some stats for us. I'm just kidding. And for those who are just joining us, you're on Your Body Talks with Jessy Morrison and Dianne Ojar, and I want to say, um, just to clarify, Jessy, we're talking more right now, the readings on a personal level. There's also for business, and there's also you categorize them. Business is a whole nother story, and that's for another series. We will do another series about businesses, you and your business. In relationships too, do you, is this also part of relationship, or you handle that the um, different talks with the body?
I always work with the person who comes in to see me. Before it was always in person, now it's more on Zoom. But when someone comes in to look at their business, there are two different ways of looking at it. The business for solopreneurs is an extension of their personality, is an extension of their growth on this planet, because there is no better way of learning to know what your limiting beliefs and um, core wounds and things are than being in business. But when somebody has an incorporated business and has several people that they're involved with, like having several VAs or a vice
Mm-hmm.
president and an accounting manager, then it is a different entity on its own. And
Yes,
I have
it
to
is.
bring in the attributes of all the people that are involved
That's
in that.
correct. Yes, and that's absolutely right. And that would be another series we will be looking at. Definitely so. So the interesting thing is about you had mentioned it in one of our other shows, is talking about the mono or poly soul people.
Oh,
Basically you briefly mentioned it before. Into many souls, when you have just briefly mentioned it again to those who have missed, where we have different souls within us. It does not mean that you are mentally challenged. That's not what this means whatsoever.
and it
Um,
doesn't mean you have different personalities.
Not at all.
There's a number of different ways
Hmm.
polysouls show up. Most of us have one soul in this lifetime, but if you're in a tragic situation, like in a car accident, you can have the other person whose car hit you, their energy field jump into yours. Okay, that body is expired, and the soul, for some reason, latches on to you. Or boots, if, yeah, it gets kind of complicated. Some people have a soul that is hijacking them. So I wouldn't even call that a soul. I call that an entity of some sort. Some people have a soul that you called in like you would a spirit guide. Oh, please help me through this situation, and something comes to protect you. Some of these we have brought back from the different planets we've been in. Okay, it is said that Alpha Centauri and Hadar, I believe, are in the same constellation. Well, Hadar apparently blew up, or something happened to it, so all the Hadarians went to Alpha Centauri. So quite often, it seems that we can have a Hadar and an Alpha Centaurian soul in a body. Now, again, these are just energy fields, so they can sometimes work together, or sometimes they don't. Sometimes people shift in patterns, like every 5 years, or every 7 years, or every 20 years. And when that happens, I actually have to do, depending on how many are there, like say for 3 people, I have to do a soul profile on all of them to find out what their purpose is, why are they here, what skills that they come in with, what are they learning, and which one is supposed to leave with this body when the body expires. So it gets very, very complicated. That's not a 3 hour session. That becomes a 6 or a 9 hour session. It's
Oh my goodness, that's a
absolutely
long sleep,
fascinating.
Jesse. That's a long
It's
sleep. I slept for 3 hours, and then that was it. But here's the thing I want to find out. Pretty much, sorry, not find out, to tell you the truth. Mention and correct me if I'm wrong here. Is the fact that when you are born, not
mm-hmm,
physical world, when you came into this realm, that's not even the word. From time, you're given one soul. Is a soul is assigned to you, and that
mm-hmm.
soul is with you throughout your whole
Yeah,
lifetimes.
think of it as a contract between this
A
beautiful
contract,
organic
yes.
chemical body and who says, I will help this soul have this 3D experience, which is
Until you,
really,
yep.
really beautiful.
Which
Yeah.
until you reach enlightenment, or we call go home. Basically, if you become a saint, a Buddha, this soul stays with you for eternity and beyond. So
The soul doesn't stay with the body for eternity.
no, no, no,
I would.
stay with you for
Oh, well,
eternity.
you
Sorry.
are the soul.
Right.
I
So
always tell my clients, you are not your body. You have a body, and you are this space between the cells. The body is the cells, the body is the chemistry, the body is the nerves and the lymph and all this kind of stuff, and it is organic. And then the soul is having this experience in 3D of touching, tasting, feeling, smelling, using the five senses to have this dimensional 3D experience. I believe the soul is in many, many different dimensions all at once.
well, the other thing that what we work with is what we call the Shen Shi Jin, where it's an old Chinese teachings, and there's a science behind it. That the Shen is the soul, is the boss that has the warehouse of the message that's sent to the heart, and then of course it manifests with the mind, and then it goes to the energy and then the body. Short version of it, and every
Mm-hmm.
single living matter thing, whether it be the phone, everything has a Shen, Shijin, and a soul. Everything is a
Yes,
sign.
definitely. It
So
all has a
it
vibration.
has a vibration. That's correct. So when we say it is soul, we're working with that soul, and your soul has one job, and it's to make it a better life, to serve its purpose, to make it for a better life for you to go to the next life. Same soul, maybe different body. And let's hope it's not an animal or a goat, a human goat, or hell. And those are the negative sides of it. But you want to make sure you do your best to come back into a human form. And that's what your soul is here for. So when you have other souls trying to hijack, like Jesse's saying, that's where it comes into the situation where, you know, Jesse will work with you to work through that. Because there's
Well,
one
and I
dummy.
ask, how is it interfering? Like the
Hmm.
lady I had from Nova Scotia the other week, she was in so much pain. Her fibromyalgia was making it almost impossible to work and impossible to take care of her family.
Hmm.
Um, when I went in, because I will often do a soul reading on someone without divulging the information that I pick up. It's more or less so I understand what am I going to be dealing with, because not everybody is open to this kind of work. With hers right away, I could not do a reading like I did for you. The three souls
Hmm.
really started battling and refusing to allow me to check. So at that point, I'm going, okay, well, the soul has free will, and I'm not allowed to do this. Except there was another one that went, yes, you can. So I said, okay, how many are you here? And soul number one is the one that came in at first breath. And it seems that it gets sort of booted out and goes to some astral plane and waits. So that soul is not learning all the different things it was here to learn. So the second soul is there for protection, but this third one, which we cleared on our very first Zoom session together, was absolutely vile and shocking and fought me on Zoom. Like literally, the woman's face changed, her skin went black. It looked like she was spewing stuff at me, and I started to laugh. I started to laugh, sort of as a shocked reaction, but it stopped the reaction of this energy that was in her. And I said, what is your purpose? Why are you here? And it says, to make her suffer, so she never feels joy. I said, but you're not allowed to feel joy, yet you're feeling joy making her suffer. And I don't know what I did. I said a couple of things that were just sort of to bust, to reframe and to bust, and it was gone very quickly. And we sort of ended the session there. I gave her some homework to do so she could start putting in some positive frames. When she came on the call last week, she said, it's gone. Like it's gone from the whole house. My father is behaving differently. My husband's behaving differently. She says, I have more energy. And it was like, wow, that's really, really cool. Because I wasn't necessarily going to bring up anything to her that I had done a soul profile or that I had attempted to, because I had actually felt that I had failed. And then this week we brought in the second soul came forward and said it was there to protect tired. And now that the other energy is gone, could it please leave? And then she started to cry. And I said, are you feeling sad? She goes, I'm feeling relief. It was here to protect me all this time. And she says, what do I do? And I says, you give it a pink slip. You say, thank you so much. I am so grateful for all the work that you've done. I'm a big girl, like she's 50 something, and I can take care of myself now. So you go back to your family or your dimension or wherever it is, and if I need you, I will call. But for now, go and have a rest. And she just sat there, and all the wrinkles in her face disappeared, and her
Wonderful.
posture changed. And she, instead of looking dumpy and frumpy like she did before, she's still plump, but her spine was aligned very differently. And then she said, oh, yeah, I have to tell you, I've been in no pain.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, that's so cool. So, yeah, there are things that we don't understand that our medical system doesn't understand. It's trying to keep things in 3D. We don't always need more vitamins and minerals, although giving the body the best it can have is wonderful so we can stay in energetic alignment. But yeah, to see those changes myself is often so rewarding. I wish I could do this job for free, but for some reason the banks want money. Hydro wants money, It's
Yes,
like,
yes. And
hmm.
Jess, I have to say, I so resonate with what you're saying because even when I do the elephant in the room, would it be, I've done a few sessions publicly in groups where I just demo people, and it is phenomenal the change, even the frequency, because people, this one person had their internet was given so much trouble, and we were in an event, and from the time I just happened to mention, something, and she just, I wasn't even going to do it, I wasn't even thinking about it, and she just, I said, oh, okay, I don't even know how we got to that conversation,
Hmm.
and I didn't expect her to say anything, and I said, well, who has some fear now? And she said doubt and something else, and I said, okay, do you want to play right now? And she said, okay. And she just said what she had to say in about 15, 20 minutes. Some of them take longer than that now, but 15, 20 minutes, right there and then, people saw her transform. And you can tell her face, I told her she had to stop hiding, stop combing her hair
Hmm.
like this. So I understand definitely what you're saying. The transformation is almost instant.
Yeah,
Your
it's
body is
amazing to
there,
see.
your body is there to protect you, but really it's what your soul is. Your soul, that intuition gut is there to protect you, and
Hmm.
it's there for a reason. However, when you feel something physical, there's two sides to it. Yes, I would never say no. Make sure you check it out to make sure there is something, you have a diagnosis or something if it makes you comfortable. But also there's
Hmm.
another side to it. We recently had a girl who was diagnosed, long story short. She literally will call me, and I would call her and say, okay, what's going on? And how are you doing? Please. And she's bawling and saying, take it out to me, take it out to me. And she was in a bad shape. So I did
Hmm.
what I can do with my gifts that I have remotely as well, which are very powerful, by the way. But I got in the
Hmm.
troops where we had Guanyin involved, a soul operation, very powerful. The long and the short is, and we worked with her. The long and the short of this is that when she went back a couple weeks after, there was nothing on the X-ray. It was
Hmm.
documented before, and the
Yeah.
doctors were like, you know, she said, but it was there. You documented. You said such and such, and she's transformed. Now,
Hmm.
it's a work in progress. She has some way to go. And she was so totally confused. And we've actually profiled in another show. A couple of times she's been on there. And she talks very openly about it. And right now she's going through a huge, and we all are going through a huge purification. So she now is, there's a lot of things that are coming up from the past, and people appearing from nowhere. And this is what
Hmm.
and I always say to her, you have to stop and think on how you react to the situation. This is what, you have to look at these things. So your body is there to protect you. And she used to be
Yeah,
a
and
Reiki
it's
master,
there
so forth,
to give a voice
to
to
give
the
a
different
voice.
energy frequencies you're in to show you if you're in alignment with your mission or if you're off track.
Absolutely. So Jess, why don't you just give us a few words of wisdom while we wrap this up? It's always a pleasure having so much fun with you and having these amazing conversations because we can go on for hours. So
Yeah.
just a short words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, you're putting me on the spot. I'll have to have them lined up for the next time.
I may not
I will
ask
tell
that the
you
next time. But
a
yes, you
brief
do.
story because being single,
Yes.
quite often, when we're out there, you'll get someone who sort of locks eyes with you and then starts coming towards you, and you get this kind of creepy feeling or a feeling like, oh, I don't know. So sometimes we think this intensity is like, ooh, it's attraction, and other times I have learned to say to my body, and in my mind, I say, any oath, vow, pledge, allegiance, fealty, Camille, to your contract that is between us or that was unresolved in a previous lifetime, I now revoke, rescind, recant, renounce, denounce, uncreate, and totally destory it. And I'll take a deep breath. And it's like the person, their eyes will roll backwards, their eyes will flutter, and they walk right by me because they don't see me anymore. And I always feel like I've dodged an energetic bullet because who may have been a soulmate in a previous lifetime is not necessarily on mission with me in this lifetime. And I don't necessarily want to clean up past karma. I just want to keep motoring along and doing what I came here to do.
Oh
So
my
that's
goodness.
my words
Jesse,
of wisdom.
where were you hiding that for me? That's something you have to send me. I am not kidding you. And I'm going to have to memorize that because I'm telling you,
Okay,
girl,
I
I
can
am,
send that to you.
yes, you have to send it to me. And you know what? If anybody wants that, a copy of that, please do let us know. And
Yeah.
on that note, I would like to say it's always a pleasure, having you with us. And I want to thank Jesse so much for the stories and spending this time with us as well. There's so much to talk about, so much to understand. And if you want to continue to hear us, please do drop us a line at dsjshow2020 at gmail.com. We want to hear the conversation. We want to hear the questions. And there's so much we can go on. There's so much to talk about. I can't wait until we start talking about business because a lot of people I know really are struggling with their businesses and they believe it's the business, but it has a lot to do. Like I said, you are your business is you. So you got to
Well,
stick
the other
around for
thing
some
they're
time.
trying to do is
Mhm.
follow somebody else's blueprint. What works
Exactly.
for one person doesn't necessarily work for you. I find every time I've tried to do business the way they tell me to do business, with all of the behind the scenes tech and stuff like that, my business stops.
Yeah,
When I wake up in the morning and say, "Okay, God, who needs me today?" I am booked 6 months ahead all of a sudden, and it's like, okay, that's how I do my business. It's not necessarily a 3D thing,
absolutely.
although I tend to work in 3D.
Lovely. Well, I want to thank all you, the audience, for being with us. And until next time on Your Body Talks with Jesse Morrison and Dianne Ojar, I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us. And I hope you learned something because I know I did. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jesse.
Bye, Deanne.